What's going on? I uh I just wanted to talk a little bit before it just gets too late. But I was thinking and I was brainstorming. I was putting some wood in the fire in my wood stove, and I was just thinking, you know, I've said this many times, but I was just thinking about what I was thinking about how you can change your life with a sizable gain, financial gain. Like let's just say you somehow or another make some money and you make like 100 grand or something. You can kind of scale that and make more money, and then just like that, boom, your life is most likely changed. Depending on your circumstances, everybody's circumstances is different. I'll say that I'm speaking of someone that probably is more middle class, makes probably less than $100,000 a year, and lives somewhere between the Rust Belt, the South, and the Midwest. You get $120,000 on a parlay, boom, your life is changed, and it just took one day, boom. I mean, there's tax obligations, but your situation has changed. You probably can't quit your job. The notion can be explored if you wanted to, but most likely ain't gonna be able to quit your job, or you're not gonna want to quit your job. It's not something substantial that you want to do that, but you certainly can open the doors for that conversation. You can kind of think about it a little bit, depending on your circumstances, as well as far as how much debt you're holding and things of that nature. And also, as the title of this video says, understanding your actual reality. That most likely is not going to happen. Okay. uh, you are not gonna, if your most likely situation will probably be what it is last week, the month before. Whatever you earn from your job or whatever you do as far as your career, that's probably not going to change. As far as you're not going to most likely get, the odds are stacked up against you to get some big sizable sum of money, hit the lottery, stuff like that. So the reality of the fact that most likely is not going to happen, because you kind of know that most likely is not going to happen. How do you get that result, knowing that most likely probably is not going to happen, but you would like the idea of it? You would like the idea of some type of financial freedom where you could possibly transition into, as I say state in my book, The Millionaire Savings Plan, living how you really want to live. And let's focus in on that for a second. While everybody's talking about trying to have a relationship and everything like that, and trying to get a woman and all that, and I could go into that, because I read an article today regarding that was not surprising. But I'll hold on to that, and I'll come back to that. But the thing is that knowing that you're on, a hamster wheel, because you weren't born, you're not a nepo baby. Okay, you're not a nepo baby. and all of the things that you did, or the missed opportunities, or opportunities that you didn't basically capitalize on, or take advantage of. You didn't do those things, whatever. Basically, we all I've said this before, we all are the sum of our own actions and also inactions. Whatever you didn't do, you didn't marry that rich girl, that lived up the hill, because she was maybe a little bit too chubby, she was a little bit too mid, you know and you just didn't marry her. And then now you see her, basically, she's her wealth is increased tenfold because she works for her father's company now, and she's managing his estates because he's getting up in age. And now she won't talk to you because you probably a little fried up, you a little frazzled, you're older, look like a lit cigarette. you know a lot of people, if they don't take care of themselves, man, and then stresses of life, a lot of people probably in their 50s, maybe even 40s, and definitely 60s, you know and don't I know I'm a comical person, so I do I you know I have I can cat really well, or shoot the dozens really well. So when I was younger, I used to get in a lot of fights because I used to I used to really dig into people with my words, man. When I was younger, I would hit below the belt a lot of times, and people would be pissed off. And then you know how it goes when you're younger. You start to make jokes and shooting the dozens or whatever you want to call it. And people start, guys start getting in their feelings, and then they want to fight. So one of the things I'll say is that don't go around don't don't tell people, don't go around older people and say you look like a lit cigarette. Don't please don't don't take my, what I'm saying, don't use that, man. And, get into some fight or something, man. Some older person, you go up to a boomer and say you look like a lit cigarette, and he might want to pull out his gun on you. You know what I'm saying? Like, just you know what I'm saying? Just, I don't know. You use it sparingly. But yeah, when you get older, yeah, you start looking at like a lit cigarette. And then, chicks that you probably went to high school with, they like, you don't look the same way, stress is tearing your ass to the oblivion, because you just on the edge all the time because you're overworked, underpaid, and you got all of these different bills and everything going on, and you're stressed out, and you know you just got premature gray. And yeah, you start looking like a lit cigarette. So anyway, that being said, yeah, the rich, basically chick that you didn't want to talk to, she definitely don't want you now, looking like a broke, used lit, cigarette or whatever. uh she don't want you, so you can't even come back on some, I wish I would have talked to you in high school type shit, because she don't even really want to talk to you. Like, she probably already have, had a few uh partners herself, and she probably been around some, rich people, elite people that are more of her heart's desire. She sees you lesser than she saw you when you're younger. So anyway, that hope is null and void. It's no hope involved in that. So you gotta, basically gotta go to work tomorrow. You gotta, basically clock in, because The reality is, yeah, you weren't born rich. Your parents weren't rich, and you definitely uh all of the sums of your actions led you to basically probably either living check to check, living uh maybe with a little retirement money, depending on your situation. You basically still got to go to work. Even a person that has 401k that's been funded, they've been funding their 401k, they've been putting in 20% to or higher contribution. They make decent money, somewhere between close to six figures or six figures. They still got to go to work. You know, that person still has to work, and it's a difference between having to work and not having to work. Working because you probably want to work because you don't really want to do anything else, or you're comfortable doing what you want to do. It is I would say it is a percentage of individuals that they just like working. They don't necessarily have to work, but a lot of people, most people, they actually have to work. You know, I told a family member of mine that bought some property from a friend of a family, and I told him the story because he didn't really know. And it was a friend that I grew up with that he lost his house with a foreclosure through foreclosure. And I had to tell my family member. I was like, basically, yeah, let's call him Sammy, okay? Out of respect or whatever. Sammy, he, basically was living check to check. He uh basically would use his employment to basically, like most people, pay their mortgage. He would live check to check, and it was even worse than check to check, because what Sammy used to do would be, he would know he would be kind of cutting it close, or cutting it. He'll probably even be short on a paycheck. On you get two paychecks out the month. So Sammy would know the first paycheck. And it's people that still do this right now. This is some people's reality. His first paycheck, he knew, was basically going to be short, because he didn't really make enough to pay all of his expenses for out of one paycheck. So first paycheck, he knew he would be about, let's just say, $250 short. So he had a bank checking account where he knew basically if he write the check, the bank would cover the basically part that he was short of, and they would just ding him for the overdraft fee, or even overdraft fees if basically he had other expenses out there. Because that he had some banks have like, I remember one bank I had a $500 credit line, and what that meant was, if I had any transaction between zero to, or let's just say, $1 to $500, the bank will automatically just pay it. It'll just, it was kind of like having an uncle, like, that just give you some money, no questions asked. Like, as long as the balance went from, you know, between $500, the bank would just pay it, and then they'll charge you an overdraft. Some people have banks like that, or overdraft uh, lines of credit or whatever, where the bank will just, they'll cover where you're short. Basically the checking account would kind of give you a credit of like $500 or even more, depending on the bank or whatever. But yeah, that's what Sammy would do. His first check, he would basically be short, and he knew he would come up short. And then the second check, he would try to, recover or recoup something, maybe, get his account settled, pay anything else that need to be paid. And then he would know the next month he would, basically the next check after that, it'll be the same song and dance. It'll be the same situation. He would come up short again, depending on how much he would come up short, it was up to whatever was going on. But that's what he did for quite a long time. I want to say years, definitely. And all of a sudden, uh Sammy lost his job. And this was what my family didn't know about, because they ended up purchasing his house after he, basically ultimately went into foreclosure, but they didn't really know the backstory of how that happened. But I did. I mean, I was a close friend of his, and basically we, pretty much were knew each other for most of our lives. So the thing is that that's what happened. He lost his job, and unemployment doesn't pay your full salary. If you're lucky, you could probably get about half of your salary when you get some type of unemployment claim or whatever. And it's just, it's not enough to cover most of your expenses. It's definitely, if you're a person that lives below your means, that probably can work out. But if you're, kind of close, cutting it close, or definitely if you were check to check, if you lose your job, even with unemployment, that could be disastrous. And that's what happened. Sammy lost his job, and it took him a while to get a job. He ultimately came out better because he ended up, I think he was like a mail clerk, and then he got into IT, and basically he basically doubled, if not made more money than what he did working as a mail clerk, because that was part of it too. That was why he was kind of living check to check, because he wasn't really making that much. He wasn't making enough money to cover all of his expenses. So at the time, yeah, he couldn't get a job fast enough, and ended up, he's already living check to check with his full salary or full, wages. So once he got unemployed, even with unemployment, that that was not enough to keep that cycle going. He couldn't pay his mortgage. It was months went by, and then ultimately he lost his house through foreclosure. So I say all of that to say that it's definitely a financial situation that it happens. It happens every day in America, where someone loses their job. There's reports every day of layoffs and stores closing and all kinds of things going on. And the thing is that basically I didn't have this book. I didn't have this idea to tell Ronnie, okay, this is what you do, try to do this, this, and this. I didn't have that at the time. Even myself, I think it, one many times Sammy was doing better than I was financially, as far as, he was working, or, I mean, he was working for, like, I think about 7 years consistently, so the thing is yeah, I didn't have this idea was just not in existence at the time. So I couldn't save Sammy. Okay. So the thing is that, yeah, this plan can help you, if not nothing else, try to get out of that check to check lifestyle. Now, back again to, me, putting fire wood in the fireplace, I was thinking about, why does people, knowing that you're forced to do things you don't want to do, you forced to work places you don't want to work, why do you not lean into that and focus on that aspect of the fact that, why do you have to do these things? Why do you have to um work like this and live like this, and it's like, I think of that, I was putting the firewood in the stove. I was like, I'm like probably one of the few people that do focus in on that is really cognitive of that, and I've shaped my entire life around that, given the fact that, yeah, I trim the budget. I don't live like Sammy, even with times where, I basically lost my job when I was unemployed. I was able to at least, uh you know basically make ends meet, to where, I didn't necessarily have to worry about no mortgage or anything like that, because I basically, one, I didn't have a mortgage, and then two, uh even if, let's just say, I couldn't pay my taxes, well, you got 2 years, depending on what state you were in. Like Illinois, Indiana is very similar. You got about 2 years to pay your taxes. I don't know, I think Illinois, maybe you have longer periods, I'm not sure. But if, let's just say, it gets real bad, you can't pay your taxes, well, you got a period of time that you can redeem yourself and pay the taxes back. And you got like a period of years, right? Well, with a mortgage, you got a little bit longer than rent. Like if you rent somewhere, that's why I don't, it's not to your advantage. I did a live stream that renting can lead to homelessness. And one of the reasons why I said that renting lead to homelessness is because of what I'm about to say now, that you already know. You only have about a couple months that you don't pay for rent, and then basically any diligent landlord will just take you to court for to process pursue an eviction, for you to get out of the premises of his property or her property. And that's basically what typically happens. That's the timeline. Some landlords, and it depends on what state you're in and all of that type of stuff. They ultimately can evict you possibly within a month of not paying. Then like 30 days. It depends. It's some landlords that take a while, to file an eviction. And it's some landlords that are Johnny on the spot. They already have a lawyer, designated lawyer. As soon as after 30 days, they automatically start processing the eviction process. They go file the paperwork at the court. So I mean, that 2 months, don't take my word for it or whatever, thinking you got 2 months. No, you might only have a month, where basically on the second month, that's you got a court date to show up. You getting some bank, I mean, some process server, or you getting a letter in the mail to show up to court on the second month. So don't take my word thinking you got 2 months. No, it's basically not that long before you start getting evicted, or you get in a situation where you got to get up off the premises of that property when it comes to rent. Well, with a mortgage, and this is also dependent on state laws and stuff like that. States differ from other states, But I'll just say, let's just talk about Illinois, because I've never had a mortgage and I've never had one in, obviously, even in Indiana where I am, but I do know Illinois law because basically I took the real estate course for a real estate agent and also a broker, and then also know people that actually went through. I know people personally that went through the foreclosure process. So pretty much in Illinois, you got about, from the start, from the very first payment that you miss, you have about anywhere between 5 to, let's just say, 9 months. What's going on, Iori? Greetings, bro. You got about anywhere between 6 to 9 months, or maybe as long as a year, for the foreclosure process to go fully through. Meaning, you go from basically being a mortgage payer to going back and forth to court, and then ultimately rejudicating that property back to the bank, and then evicting you from the property. It could vary from that timeline depending on certain circumstances. You could certainly do a lot of different things. You have more recourse than a person is renting an apartment or a house or whatever. Have a longer time frame to get yourself together, or whatever, to get some monies together, to get yourself together, whatever, than a renter. But you don't, because you don't own the property. You have a shorter time frame than an actual owner of a property. Like, I own my house, right? So the only person that could take my house is basically the county. The county can take my house. No mortgage company, no other person, whatever, can take my house other than the county can put my house on a tax roll auction if it's not paid, and then you still have a period of time that you could, even if your house gets sold on a tax roll or tax auction, you have a period of years, or a year or so, to actually pay that back. Now, you could also do certain things as well. For example, if you do owe taxes, you can just put your property up for sale. Okay, if worst case scenario, oh well, I don't know if I'll be able to pay my taxes back, but I'm, might lose my property. You could put your house up for sale and basically sell your house at closing, or even before closing. uh the title company can settle any past due delinquent tax debt that's owed. They, okay, you owe, let's just say, 3 grand or 5 grand. Your property, your house sold for 75. Well, you won't get the 75. The title company will keep the 5 to settle that with the county, and you would only get 70 grand. You won't lose your property. You still have a net profit, or net gain from selling that property. With a mortgage, you technically can do that too, but it's more technical because you don't own the property. So if it depends, like, you could technically do the same thing, but this is where it becomes a problem. Well, it depends on the market. For example, in a market like this, you probably won't have to do a short sale, meaning a lot of people had to do short sales in the great, basically 2008 market, the mortgage crisis or mortgage, uh, basically the Great Recession of 2008. A lot of people had to do short sales because basically the housing market was so low as far as prices. A lot of people couldn't sell their house for any value in order to, ultimately sell their house and move on to somewhere else. Like, that's typically what happens is, people sell a house and they get some type of profit. They take that profit and then they put it on a down payment for another residence, or take that money and go get an apartment or whatever they do with it. That's typically what happens in a, let's just say, a regular market. Well, 2008 wasn't a regular market. It was a down market. It was actually 2008 was a wholesaler's market. It was so bad that, I talked about the three different markets. You have a buyer's market, a seller's market, and a wholesaler's market. Nobody really talked about wholesalers, but I knew it was a wholesaler's market because basically whenever you can get a house for $1, which that's what I got, you can't tell me that's not a wholesaler's market, because that's not retail. That's, a retail market is when basically you can sell your house for retail, and that's where I'm talking about, where you usually get some type of profit and you take that money and go buy another property. And that's typically buyer's market. A seller's, or actually a seller's market. A buyer's market is when basically the buyer will be lucky if he can sell the property. If he doesn't have that much equity in it, he might not get that much, because the buyer the market favors the buyer, so the cost is going to get lower, right? The housing market is going to, the prices is going to get lower. So the seller is going to have to probably dip into some of that equity, because just to have a sale of the property to make it favorable to the buyer. In a buyer's market, he's going to trim some of the profit from what he would make, that, if it was a seller's market. But when it's a wholesale market like what it was in 2008, if you didn't own the property and you didn't have a major level of equity, like I would say 30% or higher of you own the house outright, you pretty much, if you had to sell your property at that time, or you was in foreclosure, you had to do what was called a short sale. And that's basically, you have to contact the bank to negotiate with the bank in order to do a short sale, where basically you sell the home for discount, at a discounted rate, where the bank will get some money, they won't get that much, and you won't get anything. And you basically, you get the property off the bank books, and you get the property off of your books as well, as far as you own the property. But I think it was some like tax obligations with that, where I don't know, it was something with that was involved, that someone told me. But yeah, it was a pretty bad situation. But what I'm saying is, that's the only way. If the economy is bad and the real estate prices, let's just say, we're down, that would be the only way you could sell the house. But if it's no as long as it's a normal real estate market, where it's basically just a regular buyer or seller market, you should be able to put your house on the market even if you're going through foreclosure, and to avoid foreclosure, selling your house as quickly and swiftly as you possibly can, and then basically the title company will close out the sale. The net proceeds will go back toward the bank, and if you have any profits, meaning you have some equity in the home, and it's more, you basically, if you sell the house more than what you owe to the bank, you will get those proceeds, and that's how that will work. So you still have some recourse with ownership. That's why I do not like renting. I despise rent. Okay, it just not, as a person that understands a little bit about finances, um, it's not a favorable situation for you when it comes to, basically financial moves. It's not much you could do with rent. You see, I'm gonna be honest with you. Um, if I never told you anything, you hear this word they call, um what do they say, infinite, what do they call it, compound interest. Well, one of the ways that you can get compound interest is owning real estate and just renting it out. One of the things that I learned about Robert Kiyosaki, or learned from Robert Kiyosaki, is basically you can own, you when you if you're actually into being a landlord and renting properties, you can rent properties forever. The house could be worth, in that case, in that scenario, that house could be worth infinity, because as long as that property and that structure is still standing, is still viable for, basically renting out to tenants, you can collect rent in perpetuity. I might have said it fucked up, but you know what I'm saying. Perpetuity is forever. So that's how base. That's why it's called a landlord, because you're basically, it's kind of an elite title, because you're basically, you can collect rent forever. And that's why I don't like it, because as far as a person that understands the concept of being a landlord and the concept of paying rent as well, it's a poor person's, it's basically a peasant uh ideology, because you're a slave basically to the landlord. You'll never you don't own that property, so you have to pay rent in perpetuity. It does not stop. If you die and you have children that live with you, and you're paying rent, guess what? You soon as you hit soon as the dirt hits your pine box, the next month rent is due. And if your children don't pay it, they are going to be evicted. That's just, the reality of that. And the thing about it is, assets and ownership is the way of the rich and wealthy. Poverty and basically peasantry, if you want to call it, is renting, being renting from a landlord for the rest of your life. I know some people, quote unquote rich people, give you the advice of renting out. But one of the things that you got to understand about an advice like that, which is, I'm not gonna say is a bad advice. You know the reason why? Because they're fucking rich already. They're rich. You're not. You know, it's not okay. You gotta be you gotta be really understanding of that. That's why I raised my voice. They're already rich. You're not. So them telling you that you should do what they do, being already rich and wealthy, is insane for you to actually think that, because they're already rich. You're not. If you're the average everyday individual that's, making, the medium income of, let's just say 50 to $75,000 a year, and you don't have a sizable amount of savings, which means, let's just say, couple years salary, which would be about 100 grand. Okay. You know, just renting as an idea of a way to save your money and not have to worry about the expenses of home ownership is a ridiculous idea to follow, just because you heard some quote unquote rich person say that. They're already rich. That's the point. It doesn't matter. They could, you know, it's some old people that they started they found out, basically, they did the numbers, and they realized if they just lived on a cruise ship, it's cheaper to do that than being in a nursing home. They did the numbers, and they basically, that's what they did. They just, lived a pretty long time on a cruise ship. Now, I don't think that they lived on the cruise ship forever. They just, probably for a period of time, maybe, I don't know, however long they did it. That's what they did, right? It was less cost than living in a senior citizen community or whatever, nursing home or whatever. That's what they did. So yeah, because they already had money. The key word is they already had money. They were already retired. They already had a nest egg, and that's what they did. Okay, if you're rich, you can do what the fuck you want to. That's why, it's the whole point of this fucking live stream. This the basic concept of what I'm talking about is, you're not rich, so you the whole idea of what I'm saying is focusing and understanding your own financial reality and living that truth, as far as understanding, basically, kind of in a way you're fucked, because you just, like I said, you're not a nepo baby. Your parents weren't pioneers, children of pioneers of the railroads or of America, or uh textile industries, and Standard Oil. So you basically, just like most of everybody else, is you basically have to go from zero to a hero. So your parents didn't have any inheritance to pass on to you. So you kind of have to get it out the mud, right? So it's like, yeah, you uh um unfortunately, that's your reality. That's a lot of people's reality. And from understanding that, like I said, this I kind of thought about this. I was inspired by this, to go on live, because I was thinking about what people usually do. And what people do is they don't dwell in on that reality, and they try to, I don't know, it's kind of weird. They kind of make their reality worse, basically, ultimately. And how they make their reality worse is, okay, understanding they already have to work. They already in a position that they have to do things that they really don't want to do. What a lot of people do, and how they make their reality worse, is they go out and buy liabilities to actually make their situation worse. Like, okay, you already, basically know you got to work. You might like your job. You might have a decent career. You might have a respectable professional position at a company, at a well-known company, but you can't quit that job. you can't, if you got fired or you got let go, that would be ultimately a disastrous scenario. You know that. So what most people do is, even knowing that you don't come from a rich family, knowing basically you need that job more than that job needs you. And that's what most people's reality is, unfortunately, right? Knowing all of this, you go and what? You go and get that brand new car, okay? I'm talking about not used. You got premium leather and everything, and now you got a $800 car note plus $200 insurance, so with a grand total of $1,000 of transportation expense a month for this brand new car that you want because you want to appear as if you're doing okay. And to add, you live in a neighborhood where basically there's a project or the equivalent of a project building pretty much half a mile away from you, right? You pass it, basically coming and going to work. You live in, basically in a kind of sketchy, shady community, but you got this brand new car and it appears outside of your community that you're doing all right. You got nice threads, got nice clothes, you got a nice house that you pay for, or you got a nice apartment that you rent. And it's like all of these things that you pay money for, what ultimately you're doing is you're making that scenario where you have to do all these things. Now you really have to do it because now you have these extra added expenses. You have these extra added habits that you do, and you pay, and you have to spend money for these things, such as periodic trips, luxury goods, clothes, clothes on clothes, all of these things that you spend money on. What it ultimately does is make other people rich and make you ultimately poor. But you don't, most people psychologically they don't think of it like that. They think that their appearance is excellent and their status is excellent. But what ultimately is the reality is, because they're not rich and wealthy, and they have to work this job, they have to do these things that they don't want to do, they're ultimately basically putting themselves in a position, their reality is going to be even more perilous and poor, because they have these basically liabilities that they can't make any money off of, and they have these monthly obligations, right, that they have to pay, and they're not going to make any money off of those monthly obligations as well. The average car, here's the thing. If you think I'm bullshitting, see, here's the thing, right? I will tell you, yes, I'm not rich. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not a billionaire. I know what I'm talking about, though. I know that you might not co-sign that. I get it. I respect that. But I know what the hell I'm talking about. I might not be necessarily rich, but I know what I'm talking about. Okay. Just, I mean, the funny thing is, like, okay, a broker, a financial analyst, a lot of people that work in finance are technically not rich. So it's not like it's just me. Okay. But the thing is this is what I'll say. I understand, people's reality. I understand, okay, yes, I'm not a Nepo baby. A lot of people are not Nepo babies. Okay. They're not, their grandfather didn't inherit, you know, billions of dollars from, some railroad somewhere, some distillery somewhere or whatever. That's just not most people's reality, where their parents are the children or offspring of some, rich person. Okay, and then them ultimately being grandchildren of that said rich person, they have entitlements, from that. They have uh expectations of riches, and they're even there because their parents are rich, because their grandparents are ultimately rich. They're born into it. Like, that's most people's reality is not that. Okay. And the thing is that knowing that knowing that you got, like, most people's reality is, unfortunately, dark and grim as it may seem, is that they don't even have a family. They don't have any family members at all that are rich. Like, some people, they probably even grew up poor, and they know that they don't have anything to fall back on if something happens where they lose, uh they have some type of financial calamity or something. They don't have anybody to fall back on, and they know that, yet they still run away from that reality. And I'm not gonna lie to you. Running away from that reality ultimately makes the situation worse. It's kind of like okay, Halloween is like 2 weeks away, right? So imagine, and a lot of people do this on YouTube. That's why I'm the only, like, one of the only few people that actually talk about money constantly, regularly. Well, this is pretty much the niche of my channel. Okay, this is pretty much what my channel ultimately. I know I've been all over the place, but I always center around what I started my channel on, is basically finance. Personal finance primarily. But I always come back to that. And the thing is I definitely think people need to talk more about money, because it's a serious issue for most people. The common man, common woman's problem is just don't have enough money. You don't have $1 million in the bank. You don't have the problem that you have. And of course, the oligarchs, the plutocrats, and the elite, they know this. I mean, let's just say the people that orchestrate this and kind of exacerbate this situation knows this. Okay, they know, you know you need that job. You need this opportunity. You need, like, they know how dire things are, right? And it's not getting better, right? Okay. uh I learned a new word today, and that word is dystopia. And what America is turning into is a dystopian reality, meaning it's a bad reality, you know, versus how things were in the 90s, where you go have a pan pizza from Pizza Hut, and mom and pops and everybody was cool. Everybody was pretty much, mostly everybody was doing well. You know, people weren't shooting their arms out and getting high and strung out and all that type of stuff. And you know everybody had their teeth. you know so it's turning into a dystopian reality. You got Kensington. You got a live stream. All you got to do is, if you don't think it is the case, go live stream, go to a live stream of or a previous video of Kensington Street in Philadelphia. All the people walking around like zombies. They're strung out on fentanyl, heroin cocktails. And then they got some other drug that's basically a tranquilizer that they mix in. People, basically just stuck, look like you know, they're playing like a slow game of Twister. You know what I'm saying? On Kensington Street in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, I believe. So, yeah, dystopianism is very, very real. And the thing is this: the reason why I say that is, I forgot why I was leading into that, but I know it was around basically the idea of the reality of the fact that why you have to work, why you have to, do certain things that you don't want to do, to make money. You basically, you don't live the life how you really want to live. You really can't really do what you want to do, because it's only two ways to really do what you want to do. Either do it and just, kind of like struggle and do it, which is like, the ultimate entrepreneur. The ultimate entrepreneur, they just quit their job. They didn't really have that much money, or they basically went on their own notion and faith that they were gonna make it, and they did it. They had struggles, and then they ultimately made it, right? Or the second option is the safest option, or the most typical option, which is, basically you save enough capital, or you gain some type of capital, and you do whatever you want to. You want to just start an art gallery. That's what you want to do. You want to open up some type of music, you know, production company. You do that. Whatever you really wanted to do with your life, you do it. Because you have enough capital to do that, right? Those are the main two ways, right? It's only basically, if you want to just have two options, those are only two options. Because I'm not gonna be a dream killer and tell somebody that you can't just do what you want to do without money. Like you can, but you would have to really, really, it's really risky to do that. And you would really have to really believe in yourself and really have a leap of faith in order to just go that way, or basically take that route with limited to no capital. And you could do it, but from a person that have tried to do that, I definitely will say it's not easy. It's very, very difficult. Yet it's possible. But typically what happens is people achieve some type of level of financial freedom, and they go and live the life that they really want to live, whatever that is. Well, if they just buy some properties, whatever, start a laundromat, open up some, uh, some type of, business, or buy some vending machines or ATMs, whatever the case may be. It's millions of ways to make millions of dollars, right? So the thing is that understanding that you're into this, you're like basically the idea, because I thought of, I thought of this earlier, not when I was putting firewood in my wood stove, but I was thinking about kind of how what most people are like. You kind of forced to be this puppet. Just take the elite, right? Because we, mostly everybody works for. If you do work for somewhere, you work for the elite. You work for the owner class, right? And they own these companies, and they have shareholders, and all of this type of stuff. And basically, you're a puppet. Just look at it. The average person is a puppet to these, basically these owners, and you have these strings, and you're this Geppetto, this Pinocchio figure, that you have to do all of these things in order to make this paycheck. You gotta, monkey. You gotta spin twice and do a split, and say, do a Michael Jackson hee hee before you turn around the second time. Yeah, dystopia is what. Yeah, exactly. Just dystopia, right? So the thing is, knowing you're this puppet on a string, and in order to cut those strings, you need basically you doing all this shit because you need a whole bunch of money. Like you you need about it's like my friends and I did it myself. It's like basically my problem is I need about $1 million. I need about $10 million. So basically I just need about 10 million. Yeah. I mean, so knowing that, in order to cut these strings, right? I came up with a whole concept of um where people are as far as in the economic system, right? And basically, in order to get here, you just need a whole bunch of money, man. Then that's depending on your situation. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna say I envy people that don't have kids. I love the fact that I have children. I love my children, but if you don't have children, this is this level is very easily achievable because you don't have children. Okay. And what I mean by that is, to be financially free, is a lot easier when you don't have children. You don't have some baby mama or ex-wife or wife, badgering you for, because the kids are, they need to this, they need that. This level is a lot easier to achieve. A lot of times, even people that have children, man, they have that's that that basically people get up and go to work tomorrow, every day. They have that those children are that extra push that you get out of bed, the reason why you get out of bed in the morning and go to work. If you really, like, to be honest, if you didn't have children, let's just say I didn't have children. I really can do a lot more different things than I really like than I have to. Like, I'm not saying I, want to crash out and go live in a camper somewhere, but I mean, you could, if it was just that bad where you had to pay rent and you hate it and you hate your job. You ain't got no kids. You got about 5 grand, or I don't know, $1,000. You got a van that's decent. Man, you could just go live in your van. It's just you. You know you can deal with it. I mean, it's like you could do shit like that when you ain't had no kids. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some crazy shit on YouTube. It's people that's living in a van with kids, single moms living in a van with kids. Like, when I be watching shit like that, I'd be like, I wonder where the baby's father is, and I wonder if he knows that his kids is living in the van too. And three, like, I wonder, if this woman is avoiding the baby father and not letting him see his kids. Those are the things that I think about. Those are the three things I think about when I see stuff like that. I remember I was watching a TikTok of some chick that she just moved to, I think she moved to Poland, and she has kids, and it's like stuff like that normally you don't do if you have kids, because normally the child's father, he has to be close enough to at least, ethically, you could, he could see his children, and the father doesn't leave that far away, so he can get in the car and go see his children. Just go move to fucking Switzerland, and you can't, it's kind of, depending on custody laws, I know, and stuff like that, you just can't do that, but I wonder when I hear stuff like that. But we're talking about no kids though. So you ain't got no kids, man. You can probably do certain things that don't require a whole bunch of money. you know, you could probably be financially free with $30,000, you know, cash. Like you could just go, you just do a lot of different things when you don't have any kids. Because mainly the reason why is, one, you don't want to put your kids through any suffering, right? You want to, you know, you don't want them to go through much if possible. And then two, you know, kids cost a lot of money, you know. It's a more of an added expense. I'm not gonna say it costs a whole bunch of money. It depends on the circumstances. If you got like sickly children or stuff like that, they got some type of disability, of course the cost goes through the roof with that. But even normal children, I mean, you know, they don't really need much as far as, like, you know, food and stuff like that. You know, it just kind of, it's more attention that's needed. It's more costs, it's more expenses involved. But when you don't have children, I will say the concept of financial freedom is a lot more easier of a concept to kind of make a plan to become financially free versus people that have children. It's a lot more complicated. So um the thing is though, even people that don't have children, they still, like I say, live a life where they will never be financially free, because again, buying cars, taking out unnecessary loans, buying, you know, all of these different things. Basically, in order to become financially free, you need money, right? So every dollar that you have should be basically an army recruit, you know, soldier, in order, you know, to go out and fight for you to make more money, to basically recruit more soldiers, recruit more dollars, to make more money, to make this big massive army of money, of you know, army recruits and stuff like that, to fight for you and your freedom. That's how that works. So when you take your money and you go buy, you know, you basically wipe your behind with money and go buy all of these different, you know, liabilities, cars, clothes, you know, money, holes and clothes, all the, you know, all that type of stuff. Yeah, that takes away from your freedom. You become more of a slave, right? It's like, you know, you pull in with that brand new car in the parking lot. Yeah, you you feel good about it. Like, man, I love this car. And you like the people jockeying you for the car. You like how the ladies looking at you with your car. Got your clothes, you know, you smell good, you look good. But then you walk into that office, okay, and you check in your you check you at the desk, you at your computer desk, and you check in your accounts, and you looking at your bank accounts, and it's just like two digits. It's like you got $14. You got enough to get, you got enough to get one day. You got you can get a lunch with a drink. That's all you got in your account with your, and you got to choose. You got like $14. You either, you either can drink some coffee and tea, maybe get a bag of chips and a soda, because you got to get gas in order to get back to work to the next day. So you don't even have enough. You got to choose food or gas, and that's your reality, because, you know. And then now you like, and you also, you know, you got this car payment coming up. You know, you got these credit card bills, and now you thinking, what can you do to make some more money? Can you work overtime? You asking your boss, can you work overtime? You know, you thinking about asking for a raise, or trying to get another position in the company that pays more because you need more money, right, to cover this lifestyle, you know, this lifestyle of basically this status, keeping up with appearances. And it's like, yeah, ultimately what it's doing is making you more poor. It's making the strings much more, making you basically a better puppet. I mean, ultimately, it's making you a more, it's making the strings even like tighter, like better strings, like you know, and that's that reality. That's what I thought about, when I was putting wood in my wood stove. I was thinking about, like, I understand all of this. I'm talking to you about it. I definitely understand the reality and the realistic reality of basically being a wage slave, doing things that don't really want to do because you don't have the wherewithal to do anything different. I understand, not really. Let's just be honest, really, it's worse than that. Like, not only is it a situation where you're not doing really what you want to do, you're not really, let's call it how it is, you're not really living how you really want to live because you can't afford to. So it's like, yeah, it's a, like, I don't know, like, I was listening to Andrew Tate, and he said, man, you should just be upset. Like, you should just be mad. Like, you see somebody with a, he don't say Ferrari. He said you see somebody with a Ferrari. What did he say? A Ferrari, Ferrari or something. He'd be like, a Ferrari. He got a funny accent, man. Like, I think he got like some type of Welsh accent or some shit. Somewhere in the UK. But if you see somebody in a Ferrari, whatever, or, you should just be upset, man. You should just be fuming. And I'm like, I don't, I get that, but I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think you should be upset that you don't have, that you're not rich. I think that you should be focused. I think that you should be defensive. And what I mean about defensive is, yeah, uh, kind of like being frugal. Like, now, fuck that brand new car. I'm gonna go take 2-3 grand and I'm gonna buy me a Honda Accord, and I'm gonna ride that motherfucker till the goddamn wheels fall off, and I'm gonna save my through $500 car payment, $800 car payment. I'm gonna put that shit in my brokerage account, and I'm gonna learn how to trade, and I'm gonna make a whole fuck ton of money, and I'm gonna fucking probably within a year or two, I'm gonna be able to basically uh resign from my position and go start doing whatever I want to do in life. I'm gonna buy 3 or 4 properties before I uh resign, and I'm gonna rent a couple of them out, and then I'm gonna sell 2 of them. I'm gonna rent one out or something like that. And then I'm gonna take that money and basically put it in a money market account, and I'm gonna basically try to do my best to live off of that money market and keep my expenses low. Whatever I got to do, if I got to go out and do some shit, go, I don't know, get a cargo van, and something called roadie, like roadie. Like, for I got I had ordered some stuff from Home Depot, and it literally came the same day. Like, I got some basically flooring, and they literally someone basically with a van or something. They just went to Home Depot, picked up the flooring, and then they just delivered it at my house. I was literally at work, and someone I just came home and I got my flooring on my porch, which I don't necessarily like that. I mean, but because I wasn't home, I ideally would want to be home. But the point is, Roadie like pays way more than DoorDash and all that other crap. You just need like some type of van or something. I think they pay like, it depends, but like they'll pay like $50 to pick up one order, some flooring, some roofing shingles or something like that. And it's like, yeah, you can do stuff like that on the side whenever you want to. If you ain't necessarily punching no clock and doing that, it's a totally different experience than working in some factory, logging into a factory, you know what I'm saying? Like, um, working a shift in the plant, like it's a totally different experience. So if you got to do stuff like that, make some ends meet or whatever, that's fine. But you basically, you're not touching, your real estate money. You're not touching any other money. You're investing your money, and you're financially free. In a sense where you ain't gotta go work no job that you don't want to work or anything like that. You have your money kind of working for you, but you're not necessarily after the financial freedom. You're not on this level. You know, you're not elite. Um, where you basically your money is basically on autopilot. Your businesses and investments are basically paying for your complete full lifestyle. So I know what the fuck I'm talking about. I don't necessarily. I'll give you that. I'm not rich. I'm not a wealthy individual such as I'm extremely wealthy and all of that. Actually, I'm not broke though. I'm still not broke. You know, I have way more assets than my liabilities. You know, thankfully. But the thing is that I still got a long way to go. And the thing is, yeah, I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Cause you know what? It's people that they get millions of dollars and they go broke. Cause they don't know what the fuck they talking about. They don't know what the fuck to do with money. If I join an organization or whatever, I could be a treasurer because I know what the fuck to do with money. I can start, and most likely that's probably what's gonna happen as far as what my trajectory of my future. I probably will start some type of basically what they call it a family. They call it a family. I forgot what the term is. I believe it's called uh a family mm, I forgot the term, but it's like a family account or a family um investment firm or something like that. Whereas basically it's just people, it's just your money and it's friends and family. It's called, it's not a family trust, but it's like the term is like a family branch or something like that. It's basically an investment fund. I think that's what it's called, a family fund or something like that. Whereas basically you have your money and whoever friends, family, and you invest their money. That's how Warren Buffett started. That's actually that's basically the Warren Buffett story. He started a family fund, and basically his money, friends and family, during that course of that process, he met Charlie Munger, But by the time he met Charlie Munger, he was already rich. Warren Buffett was rich in his early 20s. By the time he got into his early 20s, he was already extremely rich for that time period, like 1950s, 1960s. He was already rich. He was already on his way. But actually, before he even turned 21, he was already uh, he was already rich according to basically at that particular time, like as far as 19 like he was 1950s 1960s rich by the time before he even got into his 20s. By the time he got in his 20s, he was extremely rich. So by the time he met Charlie Munger, I think in his 30s or something like that, he's already wealthy. Wasn't like Charlie Munger, he met him and then he got rich. No, he was already rich before he met him. So, but the thing is that yeah, that's ultimately probably something that I'll eventually do. But I ain't nowhere near no Warren Buffett, and I don't have white privilege. So what I'm saying, that's it's kind of harder to do things, when you don't got white privilege. So it's an uphill battle, man. I'm gonna have to do all kind of stuff. But the thing is this, I know what the fuck I'm talking about. I promise you I do. I mean, I know I don't really get views and all of that other stuff. And I my my thing is that I know what I do. The things that the reason why I'm not really like this because I merge myself with I'll just say other niches. I basically merge myself with the black fuckery of YouTube and different parts of YouTube, and it's like I don't really stay, in my financial lane. Like I kind of like jump out the window and I be all over the place, but you know I know it's like people is like I don't really like this guy, but I still know what the fuck I'm talking about. Um, and the thing is that it really kind of doesn't really matter because a lot of times people are dumb. Like I never forget one of my first. It was like my second IT job, and I never forget that one of the trainers. He said, "Most people are stupid," and and I just never forgot that, and he was so right, and I kind of already kind of somewhat knew that, thought that anyway. He kind of just said it out loud. This was actually in Indiana too. It's like, yeah, most people are fucking stupid. I was working at uh um basically a help desk. I was working help desk, and it was like for I think it was Time Warner Cable Internet or something like that. It was just basically helping people reset their passwords, reset their modem, troubleshoot their modem, and stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, I mean, because the reason why I say that is because it's like, yeah, nobody's gonna hit me up and get no consultation and stuff like that. Because it's like, people give Dr. Umar a whole bunch of money. They give all these other people that are comedians and entertainers and make them feel good and have a fanfare and all of that. They give them their money because they like some type of like following somebody. That's why people keep talking about FBA because they're followers. They like following the crowd and following some big person that says funny things and doesn't fucking do anything. But just all over the place with all first you're black, you're pro black, and you know you got all of these conscious tapes, hidden colors 1, hidden colors 4. Then now you hate black people. you know because if you're not out, if you're not from America, we hate you. But meanwhile, I got all of these documentaries on Africans hidden colors this, hidden colors that, you know. But now in 2022 or 2020, my new niche is nah. I hate y'all motherfuckers. You know, y'all motherfuckers can go back wherever y'all came from, and you know, get back on the banana boat. But you know, 2015 or no 2011 2010, you know, I'm making you know documentaries on how great Africa was and shit like that. Now 2020, you know, these Africans are tethers, you know. I'm gonna steal an acronym or steal a movement from, you know, another group, and then I'm gonna reformulate it. Because see, here's the thing, like I'm, you know, obviously I'm talking about Tariq Nasheed, and one of the things that I wish to about Tariq Nasheed, I wish actually, and I don't know, maybe he was destined to be the way he is, but I think a lot of what the reason why Tariq Nasheed did all of these things is because he was trying to make money. And what I wish was is that I wish Tariq Nasheed was like a nepo baby, because he wouldn't have no drive. It wouldn't be no drive for him to hustle so hard and start all of these movements, and you know, using all of these 48 laws of powers and all this type of shit to try to hustle and make some money. Because it's like, man, you know, it's like, man, I wish he had money and was born with money, because it's like he wouldn't have to do all of this shit. And he would just, you know, basically do something else or whatever. And it's like, you know, it just caused so much harm, you know, when people just, you know, they gotta have money. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not the type of motherfucker that I don't think I it ain't like I gotta have money. I gotta I'm not I never been a gotta motherfucker. Like, that's never been me where I gotta do this. Like, I'm a just, you know, come up with some type of movement where I get these followers to, you know, basically fund my lifestyle. No, I just never been like, pretty much always been pretty much laissez-faire. You know, I'm pretty smart. I know how to make money. I know what to do. I know life is tough. You know, I get it how I get it. And I just, you know, my desire is not to, you know, come up with some type of system or group so I can get a bunch of followers to make me rich. Just I never had to do that. And I never will. You know, and um, you know, I don't, you know, money is cool, but you know, I ain't necessarily like, I ain't gotta do all that. You know, and it's like with people that gotta do all of that, like it's just like it just really is. You know, I'd be like, man, I wish they already had money, because they probably wouldn't have to do all that shit. You know, eat, you know, having to eat cookies and shit to survive and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, to save money. You know, like I just, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just, you know, wish he just didn't have. You know, I wish he had a whole bunch of money and he could just stay in one place. You know, and not have to you know do all this crazy shit to make money, and you know, start movements and shit, and have all of these stupid motherfuckers that have no life, you know, follow him. They'll be following somebody else, of course, but not him. But yeah, it's like, you know, it's cats like that, you know, where it's just, yeah, a lot of stupid people. They need some type of person. They're like sheep. They have to follow somebody, and just basically give them their money and follow them just so they can feel like they're a part of something. And I mean, these people, you know, one of the things you got to understand, a lot of what these people are is broke, you know, and they don't have anything else. Because, you know, like, again, all you got to do is look at things like a kindergartner, like items versus like items. Okay. You look at what black people are doing, and then what everybody else is doing. what is different than what black people are doing versus what everybody else is doing? And then you realize, like a kindergartner, okay, this is why probably these people are so fucked up, because they're not doing what everybody else is doing. It's no Africa Town. You know what I'm saying? Where's Africa Town at? You got, like, I was thinking about this, I think the other day, like, you got Chinatown, because the Chinese are united, and they have an actual town that they have businesses, and they, thriving, and it's historic, because when they came over from China, they came to this one location, and they started this whole town of Chinese people. Well, it's like, yeah, black people don't have that, because for one, you got black people that don't think they're Africans. They don't look, in 2009 they were Africans, but in 2020, Africans are tethers, and it's like, yeah, you look at everybody else, they winning, and you see what you see. Look at black people, and you see why they lose. You know, because they got all these divisions, all these racial identity politics and bullshit that they talk. Like, I go on Twitter, and I see motherfuckers talking about race and this and race and that. And I know, as an older man, a wise man, with some wisdom, I know what people talk about shit like that, because they broke. They don't got no money. And I know the problems of people that don't have no money. It's a lot of people that don't have no money. And when you realize the behavior, of a broke person, of a person that does not want to, economically compete, you realize those are activities, those are daily behaviors that people do because they don't want to deal with, the hard problems. And one of those hard problems is being basically having, basically economic issues, having financial issues on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis, that will ultimately, if you don't deal with them, not change and get worse. And that's one of the reasons why I started this channel, believe it or not. So the thing is that, the money is the problem. The problem is the money. That's all. If you don't get nothing from this, if you, like I say, if you look at this like a kindergartner, the sum up this episode of this live stream, if you don't look at money as a problem, and identify that money is the problem, you know everything else, man, you be like a dog chasing his own tail. And um I think I'll just leave you with that. Like, that's a good little, thing, a splice to leave you with. Definitely, again, if you don't already have my book, The Millionaire Savings Plan, um definitely pick it up. You don't have to buy my book and, join some type of cult following, where you got to say tether to everybody else, or talk about other people, anything like that. All you got to do is just pick the book up. That's all you got to do. If you're really generous, you can hit, this is my cash app right here. If you want to, drop something in the donation bucket, you know um I still sell. I still got my website up, alsherbs.com, but also I still got boner pills, on eBay as well. So either one of those. And yeah, I mean, basically, man, like I said before, money is a problem. Problem is the money. If you ain't talking about that, you fucked up in the game. And I know you are. And you can't tell me nothing different.